Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is a Rice News analyst, Emmanuel Efeni. Great Malabite. Yes. Action.
Good morning, Ruben. Yes, good morning, Rufai.
Morning, sir.
Yes, we had a blast over the weekend.
You and your cap, I saw you in
in Delta.
In cap
yes.
and Agbada.
Yes, yes. We're all there to give the late Princess Margaret Obaguna a befitting, glorious Christian burial. And I think the children need to be commended. And of course, the clergymen did that very well yesterday. Now, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Atiku, INEC laying foundation for rigging 2023 polls with manual collation of results, says there must be strict adherence to electoral law. Commission clarifies position, insists electronic transmission of results stays. Of course, that story also occupying the front page of the Nation newspaper. Electronic transmission of result stays. Says INEC, no manual system next year. CSOs demand compliance with Electoral Act. Of course, that confusion over the weekend about collation of results. Many clearly confusing collation of results with transmission of results. But with all the clarifications made, all the explanations we've heard, we also need to be vigilant, Ruben and Rufai. And I think that point was well made by our guests, that we have to be vigilant to ensure that what is actually transmitted is the real result. Because what is transmitted is the final and takes precedence over any paper discrepancy that may emerge somewhere. So the electorate, the electoral umpire, as well as agents of political parties must ensure that what is transmitted at the polling unit is the authentic result, duly authenticated by all the political parties and, of course, the vigilant voters who will be there to ensure that what is being signed is the real will of the people at each polling unit. So, a lot of work to be done, but with what INEC has done so far concerning electronic transmission of results and the practice established in the off-season elections in Anambra, Ekiti, and Osun most recently, there has to be that has to be the way going forward, and nothing else will be, or anything less will not be accepted by the Nigerian public, and I hope INEC knows that. So in terms of communication, perhaps INEC need to do better so that when they communicate, we don't have this misinterpretation of what INEC is saying. So we move over to other stories now. The Guardian newspaper, stranded fund, foreign airlines withdrawal to cost Nigeria $1.36 billion. Yes, air transport in debt throes as more carriers consider exit over $464 million stock fund. Hurdles to Air Peace, South African Airways as South African restrains visa to Nigerian travelers. Stakeholders warn of losing Nigerian market to neighboring countries. Seek caution, engagement with partners. Yes, of course, dire implications await Nigerian economy should foreign airlines make good their threat to withdraw flight services over stock funds, estimated to reach $464 million as of July 2022. Yes, this problem in the aviation sector. Of course, the local airlines too have their issues. They need foreign exchange to access critical parts and other accessories to ensure that they stay afloat. Of course, the domestic airlines are also containing with the rising cost of Jet A1 aviation fuel, which has made the airfares to skyrocket to the extent that many can no longer pretend to be big men by flying. The roads are dangerous. So what are we going to do? But the aviation sector, very critical. We don't want a situation where in the near future, people would rather go to Cotonou by road and fly to the UK because it is cheaper.
They're already doing it. They're already doing it big time.
The government has to do something. When the aviation sector globally had problems after 9/11, many governments pumping money to save airlines. I remember Switzerland pumping much money to save Swiss Air, amongst other airlines that were saved by their various governments. So what is Nigerian government doing? We cannot allow the aviation sector to just go down because they employ so many. Of course, the easiest means of transportation, which is still regarded as one of the safest. Now, Vanguard newspaper, strike. Federal government considering ban on ASU to approach National Industrial Court, approves additional 100 billion naira to varsities. Register our union now. ASU's rival, Konwa, tells federal government. Yes, the Punch newspaper also reporting on ASU 578-day strikes. Angry lecturers dumping varsities. ASU laments government's shoddy treatment pushing lecturers out of varsity system. ASU president, 70% of bright, promising young lecturers leaving Nigeria, says Unilag ASU chair. Federal government to pay varsities management 170 billion naira and allowances. Others. Now, another aspect of the brain drain. The New Telegraph newspaper, brain drain hits Nigerian banks as tech experts. Others resign in droves. Seek greener pastures abroad. Fintech customers fume over delays in cash transfers. Management hiding internal crisis. Now, on ASU, banning ASU will not solve the problem. The same lecturers you still be talking to and talking about. After 6 months and counting, solution to ban ASU, that's what the federal government is considering. Well, I don't think that will solve the problem. Only create more confusion within the system. But what is the federal government putting on the table? Let Nigerians know. And perhaps ASU should just bend back for once and let's put this strike behind us, because it's also not doing any good to the image of these intellectuals whose long-drawn strike has created a lot of problems in the academic session. Some students are at the verge of losing second academic session in their years of studies. I don't think anybody will be happy, or those students will forgive the federal government or even their lecturers, who many have also described as obstinate, obdurate. Look for any synonym there. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper 2023 presidency, anti-grazing law ruined Southern Governors Forum. Yes, things are badly falling apart in the Southern Governors Forum. The association of 17 governors from the southern part of the country and the center can no longer hold. Yes, it's a no-brainer, because remember when the southern governors came out, spoke with one loud voice that South local, but no longer that way. Everybody seems to have gone their own way, and there is no unity among the southern governors anymore. Now, the foreign newspapers, quickly, the Times of London, Tory voters still want Johnson to be leader. Outgoing Prime Minister favored over Truss and Sunak. Yes, conservative voters have sellers' remorse over the ousting of Boris Johnson as Prime Minister and would prefer him other than the two rival candidates vying to take his place. According to focus groups and polling for the Times, interviews with floating voters in marginal constituencies that the Tories need to win to keep their 2019 electoral coalition together found little enthusiasm for either Truss or Sunak. Well, whoever emerges as the next Prime Minister, Tory Prime Minister, well, Tory leader and Prime Minister, yes, may find it very difficult to deliver at the next general elections. Now, the Financial Times, yes, top Russian diplomat dismisses chances of Ukraine peace deal. Yes, Gatleto urges bigger UN role. Blow after grain breakthrough. War near 6-month mark. Yes, Russia sees no possibility of diplomatic solution to the war between Russia and Ukraine. What role can the UN play? Ruben Rufai.
It's obvious the war is still stalemated at this point in time, and Russia is fighting on. We thought that all the sanctions would be able to help, stop Russia in its track, but Russia has gotten stronger, still selling its oil one way or the other by hook or crook, and it's got money going on. And once you have money, then you have some level of momentum. At first, it wasn't getting the momentum at first, but now it's getting the momentum. It's been able to capture places like Zaporizhzhia, the nuclear power plants, and it's made incursions, got into the Donetsk region now. There have been some attacks and targets in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, and the Kiev area. So it looks as though there's momentum. But over the weekend, there's been some talks as regards with Recep Tayyip Erdogan was there to meet the Ukrainian president. Let's see how that pans out. Recently, there was an attack on the top Russian oligarch's child that was bombed in a car. There are talks about Russia reacting to that, and as independence celebrations are coming, Ukraine is afraid that they're going to increase the momentum. But one thing is certain, I think we've just learned that sanctions do not work. Like it didn't work too much. Okay, it did work. Let me put a caveat there against Iran, all right, because at least it stopped the proliferation of nuclear weapons. But on the contrary, Iran still proliferated and still built more, nuclear arsenal. And they just have to find a way to settle this once and for all. Maybe this is the time to call them on the table. And yeah, negotiators are talking because the humanitarian crisis is so much in Europe. I'd like to speak to something you said, and it's really very important. We don't know what is happening. We have a keg of gunpowder waiting for us in this country. A lot of our best brains in the tech sector are leaving.
Yes.
And you know what is happening today? It is so difficult for banks to service their technological interface because most of their people are leaving.
Yeah, that's New Telegraph reporting that
Even
story.
Technology companies, they are hemorrhaging a lot of their talents to Canada and the UK. And we're just looking like nothing is happening. Because you see, this, and for all those that make the arguments to exonerate the federal government from not doing its responsibility as regards education, these are another bright set of people that earned their first degree from Nigeria, but the brain drain is happening. I think what we should be targeting is to make the economy conducive in such a way that these people can stay back in Nigeria, develop Nigeria's tech economy, and still earn foreign money by working remotely. Because it's possible in the world.
Yeah, very possible.
Rather than taking them hook, line, and sinker, living here, going abroad, and we have a brain drain. Because now banks are affected. To get software engineers now has become on the increase. And all our lives are technologically intertwined now. So we should be serious about the economic challenges happening here. But I still believe if we get leadership right, Nigeria can get back on its feet and do well and be able to keep these technological talents. Because if you make the argument for brain drain, they bring Forex, but at the same time, you also need this bulk of people to be able to make your economy work. And we're losing them now. Just like we've lost tons of doctors.
Doctors, nurses, pharmacists.
Now we are losing technological experts. We should be careful. We should watch this.
Okay, quickly. As for Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah.
The Russian permanent representative to the United Nations based in Geneva, Gastilov, that's his name, has been quoted in the papers today saying that global diplomacy is in its worst state and it is not working. And that the war between Russia and Ukraine, there is no end in sight. Because he says that even in Geneva, the Russian delegation there does not even talk to the Western, delegates that are in the same community, that they don't even see eye to eye. And anybody hoping that this war will end very soon is just imagining it. He cited the example of the Greens deal, that have been discussed, and how that has also failed. Now, it will be 6 months, this week, since the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And we've seen the implications for the global economy. Everybody quotes, oh, there's crisis in Russia, Ukraine. That's why we have issues with wheat, with the cost of bread. That's why there's global supply chain disruption. Now, if this continues like this for much longer, as a result of the weakening, in fact, of the influence of the United Nations, then, of course, we should all brace up for more difficult months ahead. However, he had a suggestion. He was saying that the UN will have to do a lot more than calling meetings. But what are the details of the UN doing a lot more rather than applying, diplomacy? So it looks like the end is not in sight yet, which is very unfortunate. Second, there are a number of stories in the Nigerian papers.
I want to draw your attention to federal government's solution banning ASU.
Yes, I was going to that.
Yes.
I was just going to go to that. And that's in the front page of Vanguard.
The Vanguard newspaper, yes.
Yes, strike, federal government considering ban on ASU. Well, what the federal government is doing now amounts to what you could call a divide and rule tactic, in addressing the crisis in the tertiary institutions. The federal government says it has offered 50 billion naira to be shared by the unions in the universities, and an additional 100 billion naira to address the grievances. On Saturday, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and also the non-academic staff union called off their strike. They are to resume work this week. But what is a university system without the teachers? The teachers are saying that what is being proposed by government is too little and meaningless, and that it will not make any difference whatsoever. And that in any case, the major issue is not end allowances, that there are other issues like the payment system, like the revitalization of universities that the federal government has refused to address. Now, anybody now saying that, oh, the federal government is considering banning ASU will just further complicate the problem. There is another group called CONWA, which is the alternative. And CONWA is saying, oh, it should be recognized. So that's why I talk about the divide and rule strategy being adopted. But it will be counterproductive. ASU is saying that a total of 578 days have been devoted to strike under this administration since 2017. In 2017, maybe 30 days. In 2019, 90 days. In 2021 or so, over 200 days. And this year alone, they spent 188 days on strike as of today.
Students are on the verge of losing a second academic session.
Students will lose academic session.
Years.
Emmanuel Osodeke, the president of ASU, is saying that many of their members have either gone abroad, so brain drain, they've left the university system. Many of them will never return. The ones that are still available, some of them are selling pop-up. Some of them are selling cassava. Some of them may even be doing mishai. That is how bad the situation is, because these lecturers, they've not received salaries for about 6 months and they need to survive. So what we are mortgaging is the future of Nigeria, because we will lack the capacity to compete. The best and the brightest are leaving the university system in droves. The ones that will remain are the ones that probably do not have the alternatives or the die-hard ones. Now, quickly, I thought you were going to comment on the NBC, Nigerian Broadcasting Commission.
The NBC
revoking the licenses of 53, TV and radio stations in Nigeria on the grounds that cumulatively they are owing 2.6 billion naira, having not paid their due licenses.
Yeah, yes.
Serap says it will take federal government to court, but shouldn't media houses also pay licenses? It looks like there are two sides.
No, I think clearly media houses should pay their licenses because it's statutory, it's part of the law. But if for any reason they find it difficult to pay, I don't think we should just resort to shutting down this media organization. They should be
when they serve notice?
Yes, they've been served notice, to be fair, to the NBC. But should they be given more time, Ruben? I think so. And I think they should be given more time.
Well, there's been an extension till August 24. Should that be further considered?
I think there should be
because of the constitutional implications that SERAP is putting forward.
Well, I think there should be further consideration of extension. And I will also appeal to these agents, media organizations. You don't have to pay everything once. You work out a payment system. Once you start meeting that obligation, no matter how little you put into the payment, I think NBC should allow you to continue to operate.
But secondly, I think the most important thing here, I'm not saying NBC shouldn't collect their money, media organizations should pay, but don't shut them down.
Because I'm with you on that.
The stations need to be on air to be able to get the revenue to pay.
Survive.
Because this is our business. Airtime is the most highly perishable commodity ever. If you don't use it now, it's gone forever. So they need to be on air, and by shutting them down, they can't get advertisers to come and advertise. And secondly, too, the federal government, too, through NBC, too, should also understand what has been going on. Because in all fairness, this same media, and this was the argument of IBA, Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria, that these same media organizations we are sanctioning now were the ones that gave a lot of free adverts to the federal government during COVID-19 and all the crisis that is happening. And this happened with what millions not paid for.
Yes.
Anyway, it's not an excuse for you not to pay your license fee, but we all know the economic situation. And like you said, let them agree on a part of payment and all of that. But please don't shut them down.
Let them continue to operate.
Don't shut them down. It has
Well,
to be
if
said.
any, I'm surprised you didn't pay tribute to the Olu of Warri, His Royal Majesty, on the occasion of his first anniversary on the throne.
Yes, we want to congratulate the Atiku III, the Olu of Warri, on his coronation anniversary, the first. And more importantly, the reforms and development he has brought to Iwere land, and the peace that we have seen in Warri Kingdom and environs. I remember one of part of the.
Okay, finish. Summarize now. I've prompted you now. You are going to town.
Yes. No, but I think we just have to commend Ogiame Atuwashe II, modern king who has brought modernity to palace matters and the matters of the kingdom. Development will follow in the years ahead,
Well,
and we'll see more of that.
Ogiame Suo, congratulations.
Congratulations.